Well, good evening, everyone. Hope this video finds you all doing well. This is Chris at The Ancient Scholar. Actually just got off of work. I'm going to head over to the gym for some cardio before I go get a little bit of dinner. But I just wanted to do a quick video to announce that I am going to be doing another review of a technological product. So as some of you know, about a year ago, just a little over a year ago now, I went ahead and purchased a Google Pixel 7, not the Pro, not the 7 Pro, but just a regular Pixel 7. And I actually used that as my work phone. So when I was in the hospital working with students and communicating with students, I would do 16-hour days. The students would spend 12 hours a day in the hospital, but I had specialty rotations, so I would have to get in 3-4 hours ahead of students to open the operating room and do the pre-briefing, go through the OR board and all of that. And so any student that's doing a specialty rotation would show up early so they can go into the operating room. And then I would stay after all the students left because there was some documentations, QA, QI stuff I had to do. So anyway, I was spending on average, or I spend on average about 16 hours a day in the hospital, a couple days a week when we're doing clinical rotations. And that's primarily what I was using that Pixel 7 for. And I have to say, a year out, I really have enjoyed that phone. I really don't have any major complaints, and that phone was really the best Pixel experience I've ever had, and quite frankly the best overall Android experience I've ever had. I really like the design, the new design of the Pixels, kind of that two-tone, the camera bar in the back. It's unique. It's certainly uniquely identifiable as a contemporary Pixel phone. The cameras are great. They do a lot of fun stuff with AI as far as some of the options they allow you to do with photography and with editing and the tools. There's a lot going there. The battery life has been decent. I wouldn't say that the battery life is a standout, but it's been decent. Performance has been okay. I do notice that a year on, it does stutter occasionally, every so often. It's not a showstopper by any means, but it does stutter every so often, and that may simply be because I'm running the newest version of Android, and perhaps it's not fully optimized for the Pixel, or the older Pixels, the Tensor chip. The G2 is maybe just not quite as good at running the new versions of Android. I don't know, but it does stutter a little bit, but nothing bad. I've had no problems with cellular service, with Wi-Fi connection, anything like that. And really my major issues with the phone have really been around the opening the phone and unlocking it. I find the biometrics are really behind the power curve when compared to other phones, such as the iPhone, right? And the iPhone, they're all in on Face ID, but because they're all in on it, it is an incredibly reliable system. And every time you pick up your iPhone, in a variety of situations, that phone is going to unlock if it can take a look at your face. Likewise, other phones are all in on fingerprint sensors under the screen, in-screen fingerprint sensors, and using a fingerprint for biometrics. For example, Samsung I think does an incredible job, although I've never really owned a Samsung. I've just kind of played with them and used them, but their fingerprint sensors are really good. They've got it down. I don't think Google has that same kind of attitude when it comes to their Face Unlock, and particularly their under the screen or screen-based fingerprint sensing technology. I think it's just a light technology, and I think it really is behind a lot of the higher end phones on the market right now. And I know people on prior videos have told me that, well, it's because I have a screen protector, and that may be the case, but there are other phones that have screen protectors with on-screen fingerprint sensors that don't seem to have the lack of reliability that I find with the Pixels, the current Pixels. And so that probably is my biggest gripe, is just the biometrics that the getting into or unlocking the phone. Otherwise, I've had an incredible experience. I really like the newer versions, the last couple of versions of Android. I think it's really matured into a great operating system, and it's as good as any other operating system. Obviously, it is a little more customizable, and so there are a lot of fun things you can do with launchers, and side loading apps is generally a lot easier with Android. You just have a lot more flexibility. It's maybe not as safe and locked in and walled off and privacy focused as something like iOS, but there are pros and cons, and I would say Android is definitely a mature system, and it's definitely a great option for a lot of people, and I don't really have any substantial complaints to speak of. So with all that said, that's kind of been my overall experience with the Pixel 7. And what I've done is there is a really nice Black Friday sale that started with the Google, with several Google products, including the Pixels. And so with that, and I'm getting a really good trade-in on my 7, I am actually upgrading to the Pixel 8. Now, I'm not getting the 8 Pro. I really don't see a whole lot of benefit for the extra money that you're paying for the Pixel 8 Pro. So I don't feel like that is the phone for me, but I think the Pixel 8 has some really nice upgrades, and I'm not going to have to pay a whole lot for it, so why not upgrade and have the newest Pixel, and then I can give you all my impressions of that when I use it. I know there are a lot of reviews that are already out, and it does look like there are some really nice features to the new Pixels. The Tensor G3 seems to be a bit of an improvement in as far as performance goes, although at least going off of benchmarks, the overall performance of the G3, the Tensor G3, is still well behind something like you see with the Apple chips and even the Snapdragon, the new versions of the Snapdragon. But those sorts of synthetic benchmark tests aside, I think from just a day-to-day operational standpoint, I don't think you're going to notice a whole lot. And the caveat to that is the Tensor is really optimized to run a lot of the AI systems, a lot of the AI-based photographic editing and options that you have photography-wise. And I think that's maybe a little harder to quantify on some synthetic benchmark like Geekbench. So I don't put a huge amount of stock into those things, but I think the G3 will be a little upgrade. And it does look like the battery has gotten a little bigger in the Pixel 8, and it does look like battery life may be a little better. And that, again, is probably one of my bigger gripes with the Pixel 7, is that it has mediocre battery life, in addition to the biometric issues that I mentioned earlier. I'll be curious to see if they've worked on it. It says they now say that the photo unlock was a level 3 biometric security, so you can now use it to access banking apps and transfer money and things like that. So at least that's gotten better. I don't know about the fingerprint sensor. From some of the reviews I've seen didn't really mention that. There are a couple of people like Flossie Carter, for example, is still having issues with the fingerprint sensor. So there's a reasonable chance that they may not have upgraded that or have improved that substantially. And it sounds like the camera performance is roughly like the 7, maybe a little better. And obviously there are some additional computational and AI-based options that the Pixel 8s have that most of the Pixel 7s don't have, unless you're running. I think you may be able to access some of those if you're running the beta. Some of the beta, I forget what the program is, but it allows you to have a little earlier access to some of these things. And then it sounds like there's some really fun things like AI wallpapers. I really like to play around with that. And it looks like I'll have the opportunity to access that with the Pixel 8. So it does seem like there are some potentially compelling upgrades. So I will do another video when I get the Pixel 8 and have the time and opportunity to play around with it, and I'll let you all know what I think. But overall, I think I'm really happy actually to see Pixel doing so well. Again, I had gotten a Pixel. I had a Pixel 2 and a Pixel 3 XL, and while those phones had some really neat there were some really neat things that they did, I think overall they were just the design was a little wonky, and the battery life wasn't great. They tended to slow down. Google didn't offer robust support, and now Google's saying that they're going to offer 7 years of support. We'll see. I mean, it's nice, but it seems that the Pixels have really matured. The design is really unique and nice. I think from a design standpoint, the Pixels really do stand apart from other phones that are on the market. And it's just really, really matured and come into its own. And I'm really happy to see that there is something like that in when it comes to phones that run Android, right? The Pixel really, in my mind, is kind of the iPhone of Androids, if you will, and that makes sense. It's the OG, right? It's Google. So I'm just glad to see that there's a really solid, mature operating system and now phone design in the Android world that I think can be very competitive with something like the iPhone, because Apple, for all the good things Apple, there's a lot of good things, they don't really tend to change a whole lot. If they land on something they like, they don't like to change much, and they kind of have to be forced, dragged to kicking and screaming to change, i.e. USB-C ports on the iPhone 15s, right? Apple certainly had no intention of making that transition on their own. They certainly didn't do it out of the kindness of their heart, and we all know why, right? The European Union really forced Apple to do that, and looks like there are some changes with the RCS messaging services that may go into effect in the next year. And if Apple makes that transition, it's not because Apple wanted to, it's because they're being dragged, kicking and screaming. So I think it's really nice to have a solid option that can compete with Apple and push them to change, because I think sometimes they need that, and that competition just helps everyone. All right, everybody, that's all I've got. So let me go to the gym. Let me get like I said, get some cardio done, have dinner, go to bed. And then I've got one more day of work this week, and I get a long weekend, so that's going to be nice. All right, everyone, take care, have fun, be safe.